Hello and welcome everyone to Springboro Pediatric Therapy's parent lecture series called New Nuggets. This series is the Parent Power-Ups Back to School edition, and our episode is on homework hacks. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We are Springboro Pediatric Therapy. We are located in Whippany, New Jersey, and we offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy for children of all ages. If you have any concerns in those areas, always feel free to give us a call. You can go on our website and we have a contact page. My name is Deanna Lindberg and I'm one of the occupational therapists. I also like to give a little bit of a disclosure before getting started that all of the suggestions here are general suggestions. They are not meant to be in lieu of therapy, but are meant to be supportive. And if you have additional needs, there will be a question and answer section. However, additional needs you can always contact for a consult or consider a therapeutic evaluation or work with your own personal therapist. So today's everybody's favorite or least favorite topic, homework. We are a few weeks into the school year now, so homework is probably starting. You probably got lucky the first couple weeks, but kids are starting to bring home homework, and it is always better to start new routines or routines before you need the routine. So before it gets stressful, it is a good idea to start building in a routine, which is something we'll talk about today, because it is easier to start something that can be supportive rather than trying to create something once it's a little bit more challenging. With that said, if you're in a challenging place, you can always start from where you are and we'll move forward. Today, we'll talk a little bit about understanding the purpose of homework, talking about creating a designated area for homework, implementing effective homework routines, using sensory tools and breaks, and how to be a partner with your teacher. So let's have a conversation about homework. We should talk a little bit about what homework is, and then we'll talk a little bit about what homework isn't. Homework is meant to reinforce school learning, and it is meant to be a reinforcer. It's meant to be something that the kids can share with their parents, for parents to know what's going on at school. It's meant to kind of help kids recall that information, or to use the information they're learning, so that way they can get more repetition in. It also helps them to practice because practice makes progress. And it begins to teach the concept of time management at a young age, although, as we talked about in some previous weeks, now those executive functioning skills to break it down and be independent with it really don't develop until they're getting into their early teenage years. Executive functioning is developing up through our teenage years until some research shows 21 to 25, and even later for some people that have executive functioning difficulties. But it's always good to start early, again, build in the routines at an early age. When homework is used well, it can build independence and problem solving, and can be a source of pride. That said, you probably have tuned into this episode because homework is harder. And what homework is not. Homework's not meant to be a punishment. So it's something that we want to try to help be something positive and as positive as possible. It's not meant to be a source of stress. It's meant to be a learning opportunity. It should not dominate family time, and homework is not about perfect scores. Again, it's meant to be that reinforcer, especially in the younger years. I think it's good for us to keep in mind what homework is and what homework isn't when we talk about partnering with teachers and how to make homework a just right challenge and not something that's all consuming. So first thing about starting homework is helping to make a designated homework area. I always like to partner with the kids that we're working with to create that area. If your home allows it, you can have a little nook with, set up a card table, something that they can put out the items that they're using for homework, etc. Things to keep in mind with homework, often away from visual stimulation, so away from a room that doesn't have a TV in it, sometimes even away from windows or facing the wall so they're not distracted by siblings or what's going on outside. It can have a window in the room. Light is always nice. but kind of that facing away can be supportive versus at the table when they're looking at what's going on in the kitchen, and all of that. Minimizing distractions again supports that concentration. If we have a lot of clutter on the desk, if it's just our holding spot for, wherever we put our own keys or things, packages when we get home, it's going to be harder for it to be associated with homework, and be something positive. That said, if you don't have the ability to create a homework nook or whatnot, I've even had parents use closets of like a guest room as a homework place. You can create the illusion of a homework place, like at a table that maybe they set up certain folders, kind of to emulate that, or you can have a shower caddy that has all their homework supplies and they can set that up with a little mat. So it becomes a routine, and this is the homework space, and it looks like the homework space and is associated with that. That said, sometimes kids benefit from having choice because there's so much of their day, especially throughout the school day, that they are just following what is expected of them. So having maybe a choice that they can use their homework nook or their homework caddy in order to get set up and ready for homework. But it has to have certain criteria. It has to be facing a wall. It has to be without a TV and things like that. So that way they, aren't picking the room or the spot right in front of the TV that is more distracting. They're picking, one of the previously agreed upon spots. Keeping in mind good lighting and necessary supplies, kind of getting up for supplies can just kind of create some distraction. You can make it comfortable and inviting. You can put something that, their favorite folders or stickers on their folders, so that way it doesn't seem like this dreary and dreaded thing. Like I said, having kids help you make this special spot maybe on a weekend can make it something more fun. I've even had kids like want to play school when they set up their spot that's for homework. I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, but building homework routines early. It is easier to establish a routine before we're already feeling stressed and avoidant of something. Think about if we're trying to start a routine of going to the gym, or maybe we are working on our own organization. Once we're already stressed with things, it's a lot harder to build a routine. So establishing a consistent homework schedule on time and figuring out what works best for them. Talked a little bit about this last week, but what might work best for the adult isn't necessarily what worked best for the child. For example, some kids need to have a snack before they start diving into homework. Some kids need a good chunk of downtime before they start homework. Some kids are good to do it right before bed. Some kids benefit doing it in the morning. Really partnering with your child to determine when is best. You can also kind of try something. So we're going to try after a snack every day for a week or two and see how that works. Oh, do we want, and then you can talk to them. You want to try after one activity? I go into this, but using a visual schedule can be helpful so they know when homework is coming to. We talked about this last week, but visual schedules help build predictability. So it could be snack, homework, swim, or snack, Legos, homework, outside time. So that way they know when is the times of the things that they're looking forward to. It's not necessarily that the thing is used as a reward. And again, homework is like viewed as a punishment, but okay, when do I get the things that I really want to be able to do? See, they can see that and see where homework fits into that. So it's not this thing that like I have to get through, or once I leave having fun with my Legos, now I have to do homework. I don't know when I'm going to play Legos again. It can be put back on the schedule after. The visual schedule can be helpful. Working to help your child organize their materials early can be helpful as well. Associating certain colors with certain subjects, or just knowing where things are and having a check-in maybe once a week. Do we have all our materials? Maybe once a month before all our pencils and we don't have paper, and that just creating unnecessary distraction, or all these old homework assignments that you don't need anymore hanging out in the backpack. So kind of creating a routine of regularly getting rid of what you don't need. Breaking down assignments into manageable chunks. We'll talk about sensory breaks for homework in just a moment, but breaking down assignments early. So not just when it is like something really hard. Set something that is reasonable early. So, for example, setting 5 to 10 minute timers and partner with your child. If your child's tapping out at the 8 minute mark, take a break at 5 earlier, but then take a sensory break, come back. So you can even set up a visual timer. There's some great visual timer apps. Countdown timer app is one, and it looks like green until it's all done, and then it reveals a picture. So how much longer are they looking at homework? Or you could set a goal for a certain amount of tasks. This could be like 3 math problems, or 4 sentences, something that is more tangible. Depending on the child, you might want to do either a visual timer for a certain amount of time or a number of tasks. The kids that benefit from a number of time are kids that can really be overwhelmed by what's presented to them. And even a few tasks can feel like it's too much. Okay, we're just going to try our best for 5 minutes, then we'll get a 1 to 2 minute break. Kids that do really well with the maximal number of things, like 2 to 3, not problems before taking a break, are the kids that really like to check off things and get it done and like to see that kind of go down. I believe I go over this in another slide, but another thing that I like to do with homework is covering up parts so it doesn't look as overwhelming. So if there's a page of 10 math problems, cover up the first 5 with white paper, so they're only seeing 5, because it can look overwhelming. Think about when you have a lot of to-do lists on your thing, all the different schedules that you're bringing kids after school, meals that you're cooking. But when you can break it down into, this is what I'm doing right now or the next hour, it becomes much more realistic. This is a favorite topic of mine. It's flexible homework seating. There are lots of options for sitting during homework. I recently went to a lecture, but there's some going to be some updated research that shows that particularly the office chairs have been found to be beneficial for kids. They put them into a classroom, and there's some really great benefits. The first day or two, maybe they're a little distracted and excited, but the office chair allows some movement without it challenging core strength. I know wobble cushions can be a big phase, but that requires a lot of core strength, or they can fall out of the chairs, where the desk chairs tend to be pretty stable. Yes, they can spin, but that spinning motion can actually help activate their attention centers a little bit on that vestibular input. But maybe even between breaks, we talk about those breaks, picking a different position to be in. So whether it's a beanbag, that laying on their stomach is a great position too, to do different types of homework assignments, like they're writing or reading. They could also have a choice between how are they going to sit. The more choice that we can give kids, the more engaged that they'll be. That said, we want to not have so many choices. So limiting it to 2 tends to be a good amount of, let's do this or this. And if they provide a third choice that still works, fantastic. But this can help them to be more focused if they're more comfortable. Taking effective homework breaks. This is a big one. Breaks are shown to improve focus and attention and prevent burnout. Again, we don't want to be at the point of we're frustrated before we take a break. We would rather build in breaks than go to our max capacity and then become something that we're associating with something negative. So short active breaks are really beneficial. Tailor the break length to the child's age, and take them early versus once fatigued. Again, build it in from the routine. Even if you have one more problem left, or at least give the choice. Do you want to take a break now? We've done our 10 minutes. Or do you want to finish this last problem? Make it a child choice versus, oh, you just want to bang it out. Those options and making breaks already in things can help it be less overwhelming. So how we are adding in some breaks. I'm going to talk about a typical sequence that works for a lot of kids. Obviously, there is no one size fits all. And working with a therapist, if you're having challenges, can be particular support, but starting with movement. So movement activates our vestibular system. Our vestibular system's in our inner ear. It gives us a sense of balance. It also activates the frontal lobe, which helps attention. So I'm going to give a couple of movement activities, but things like jumping jacks, toe touches, bug rolls, where they're on the floor, rocking back and forth. They're sitting in a desk chair. They're doing some spins, some running. Maybe they do a lap around the house, but you want your head moving through space. If you have a swing set, a minute on the swing. As a whole, sensory breaks, I kind of think of them like feeding your brain, just like short or small snacks help you from feeling hungry. Small snacks can help our brain from feeling that burnt out feeling or kind of running on empty. And short bursts are actually better than kind of those than having one big meal throughout the day. So 1 to 2 minutes a couple times during homework, better than a 10-minute break before you even start. You also can start homework with one of these breaks, so that way they're ready to go. After you do some movement, sometimes while the vestibular system helps to activate us, sometimes it can overactivate us. So this is where we want to add some heavy work, also called proprioceptive input. Our proprioceptive receptors are in our muscles and joints. It gives us a sense of body awareness. It's also a really strong regulator. It releases serotonin. So after we move it a little bit, what can we do for muscle work? Things that can be included are stretches or yoga. This is why some people really like that. For kids, you can hide heavy balls, have them pick up the heavy balls, simple ones, having them push their hands together, or you push your hands out and you try to have them clap your hands together. Kids like one, they put their hands into the door like a lower V and try to push open the door. If you do it for about 30 to 60 seconds and step away from the door, their hands kind of float up. So that one tends to be fun for some kids. Things that vibrate, some people use a massager, is proprioceptive input, figuring out what works best for your child for that heavy work. Sometimes if they're still a little overactivated, adding in some respiration or diaphragmatic breathing can help. That said, asking a child to breathe, those, I am breathing. So things like who can hiss like a snake longer, hiss. You could have your homework bottle, which can be a straw with a bottle of soapy water, and you open the top, and then they blow out the bubbles through it, so it makes like a volcano. Quiet whistles, or just blowing bubbles in general can be, if needed. I will say a lot of kids do okay with just some movement and heavy work, but some kids need a little bit more to take them down. So that's what kind of a nice sensory break could look like during homework. Make homework fun by adding in some homework tools. Chewable tools provide some oral input. So oral input can be really regulating. Your jaw is a really strong regulator. That muscle in the jaw also provides a lot of that proprioceptive input. So if your child's old enough, chewing gum or having mints, having a crunchy or chewy snack, so like dried out mango or popcorn if appropriate. Sometimes weighting items can offer calming pressure. If you have a weighted lap pad, sometimes adults have a weighted vest you can have them wear if it's supportive. Sometimes noise canceling headphones if siblings are in the back. Some kids do benefit from kind of slow rhythmic music, like drum music, something without lyrics, so it's not competing. The lyrics aren't competing in their head tends to be best. Fidget toys can help maintain focus as long as they are not a distraction. So simple fidget toys are better. Putty, something to squeeze, versus the ones that have the puzzles that are tend to be more toys than tools. Breaking down homework. Kind of mentioned this, but if you have homework assignments, break it down into achievable chunks. That this can be covering up some of the questions, or we are only going to talk about this part right now. And really thinking about the purpose of the assignment. A suggestion that I often give is if a kid is really struggling to write a paragraph, respond to a paragraph, maybe the act of figuring out what the question is, thinking of the answer to the question, and writing it all together is too hard for them. Maybe they can dictate the answer. You write it down for them, or they type it out or voice to text. There's so many different avenues of tech now, and then they copy it. So they're still getting the same end product, which is the written paragraph, but you broke it into steps that were achievable versus trying to do the whole task at once, which could feel unachievable. Another option too is sometimes, and we'll talk about this with partnering with your teachers. Maybe if they started this week, if a paragraph is overwhelming, start with 2 sentences. They can write their 2 sentences, and then the rest can be typed. So you can increase the amount of what the output is, which if they're looking for more handwriting, you're getting more of that. But you're getting the whole assignment done. And often teachers are open to uh, supporting your child. And also, you can still get to the same end result. It just might take a little bit longer to get there. And the Just Right challenge for your child might be different than what the Just Right challenge is for different people in the class. So completing those small steps can help reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed, and celebrate finishing the chunks, not just finishing the whole thing. Is, wow, you worked really hard at those 4 math problems or those 2 sentences, versus, oh, we still have so much more to go. Help them to feel good about what they're accomplishing throughout the whole process. On that note, celebrating successes. I think we tend to talk about homework very negatively, or only kind of talk about it when it's completed in a really good way. So a lot of times it's reviewed and things like that. But acknowledging the effort consistently throughout, if the child's really maybe avoiding homework completely, sitting down is, wow, we made our homework station and we got started. That's awesome. Because they might just be feeling a little bit down about getting started. That initiation can sometimes be so hard, especially for kids and people with executive functioning challenges. Initiation is a challenge. So homework's the time for them to show what they can do. So celebrate those small wins around the way. Again, we're really, and I mentioned in previous lectures, but our brain feels negativity so much more than positivity. And psychologists will talk about how we need 3 to 5 positive things said to us for every one corrected. And it's so easy to look at homework and just kind of math problems example, look at all the correct ones and then look at the one that's not and kind of be like, oh, make sure we fix this one, versus, wow, this one was great. Wow, I like how, the numbers or the equation and how you showed your work here, and talking about the positive of the ones that were there versus just the one that needed to be kind of redone or recorrected. The last thing I'd like to talk about is partnering with your teacher. Again, homework is meant to support learning and is not meant to be a stressor. There is aspects that executive functioning and the middle school and high school years, we want to set them up for success with that. But especially in those elementary school years, teachers don't know what's going on at home and what your child's experience with homework is. They really just see the end product. So being a partner with your teacher, talking to their teacher about what's the expectation for their age and what they're expecting of the class. There's been so many times that parents come to me and they're saying they're spending over an hour on homework, and the child's in 1st or 2nd grade, and that just seems like a lot. And a lot of times when you talk to the teachers, they'll say, you know what, try for 20 minutes and whatever you can finish within that. Or, if you talk to them about the strategies that you're using, how you're breaking things down, maybe they'll work so that way they're completing less problems, but they're making sure that they're showing they're able to do the problems. So that's where being a partner with your teacher can be supportive. There is, depending if your child has learning differences or has an IEP or a 504, sometimes accommodations around homework can be made as well. Again, we want to promote growth, not contribute to something that is not supporting the love of learning. Like I said, talking to the teacher as to why it's taking longer, and if it's a knowledge-based challenge, like if they're really struggling with getting concepts or getting showing what is needed, is tutoring recommended, or is an evaluation for a different learning challenge needed? So that's where considering that based off what the teacher's seeing as well. And then if it is executive functioning, attention, or stamina related, that's where kind of breaking down the expectation or taking breaks and using some of these strategies can be helpful. Okay. I'm going to stop this presentation